welcome one, welcome all to a very merry, a very supersized episode of Echo from the Buttes. I am your host, David Howman, joined by, my goodness, we've got a full house today. I'm just going to go around the horn. We've got Andrew Hazlett, Austin Bundy, Aya Abdeen, Tom Harden. I'm out of breath just saying all those names, but we got a packed house. We got a lot to talk about on this episode. A lot of different developments in Tempe, in the Valley. It's been activated and now it's getting ignited. There's lots of fun news to talk about, and we got a really good show for you. Let's go around the horn, talk about what we're doing for Christmas. What plans you guys got going on for it? Tom, I'll start with you. Wearing the agnostic Santa Claus hat.
I am. I'm having a nice, gentle, low-key Christmas day before jetting off to Minneapolis for the week between Christmas and New Year's to cover the 2026 World Junior Hockey Championships. So I'm gonna enjoy a nice little respite before getting right back on the trail.
Andrew, what you got going on?
A good question, because I'm not exactly sure. I know it's something with my family in Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. I just don't know what exactly. I think Christmas Eve is at our place, and then Christmas Day is not. I don't know.
Andrew's just there so he doesn't get fined.
What?
I said Andrew's just there so he doesn't get fined.
Yeah, I'm just here so I don't get fined. We're on to Cincinnati.
There we go.
Everything's great. Excited to get back in the race car here at Phoenix. Kyle Busch once said that 20 times over. So, something like that.
Austin, you actually have a traditional Santa Claus hat. For those not watching on YouTube, Tom's got a Santa hat on, but there may or may not be a certain branding about it. It's not ASU branding, I can tell you that. But Austin, what do you got going on?
Yeah, as you know, I'm on the East Coast here in Northern Virginia, so we're going to be going up I-95 to Northern Jersey to visit some family, go into New York City, see the Rock Center tree, all that good stuff, and come on back for a little more work before the new year and everything. So it'll be a little hectic going up to see some family in Jersey. Hopefully the snow on Friday doesn't impact any of the return travel, but otherwise it should be fun.
Yeah, you and Tom are both you're going colder. Like, you're both going out of your way to get colder weather at, like, the coldest time of the year. I don't get it.
Got to find a white Christmas somewhere. It's too warm once you get under the jet stream here.
Life's too short to be normal.
I guess so. How about you?
I don't think I have as much going on. I'm just going to relax with the family and just have a nice little break, especially after the type of year I've had. I'm coming off a spring graduation from Arizona State, and it's been a nonstop grind for me over the past few months while I'm still finding a job and finding opportunities for me to expand on my portfolio. I am so grateful that I get to report Arizona State athletics with you guys. And I mean, it's a little bit random of me to bring this up, but there is food and drinks that I discovered on Walt Disney World just a few minutes ago. Shout out Mr. and Mrs. Sprinkles of Adventures. I mean, this is what they're having. They have all these drinks, eggnog, and a turkey and mashed potatoes pop over. That sounds so good. I'm literally I'm craving for one. Even though Thanksgiving just happened last month, there's still turkey available, which is literally crazy. So other than that, I'm just excited for what 2026 has in store.
Yeah, and I'm going back to my old stomping grounds, back to the Valley. We're flying out on Christmas Day, and I'm kind of scared about that. I really don't know what to expect at the airport. If any of you are the praying type, go ahead and send some prayers up for me, because I don't know what to expect when we get there and how crazy it's going to be. But I am excited to go back to Phoenix, go there every winter around this time and get out of the freezing cold here in Oklahoma, get back to Arizona where everybody else is bundled up and I'm wearing shorts and t-shirts, and it's my favorite. It's my favorite time of the year. Get to have good Mexican food again, which is a big plus for me. But I actually touched on something that I wanted to bring up too, because our last supersized episode we did was right before Thanksgiving, and we had quite the spirited debate about Thanksgiving food. And I feel like there's not enough. I feel like there's not enough discussion around Christmas food. But like, I mean, in that picture Aya showed us, there's eggnog. How's everyone
There's
feel
like
about
two different drinks from Jollywood Nights and Hollywood Studios. I'm like, Mr. Sprinkles is living his life right now.
Are
Like,
we
if
all
you-
eggnog fans here? Or?
Very,
No.
very, very pro eggnog.
I need to try eggnog, but like, I have to figure it out. Hopefully Dutch Bros has something about that.
I feel like it's not good.
David,
I feel like the people like Tom and Austin who are saying that it's good are lying to themselves.
First, you don't like stuffing. Now you don't like eggnog.
I will say I had some stuffing at Thanksgiving this last year that, as far as stuffing goes, was the best stuffing I've had. But
Do we see
now you
it?
need to have eggnog, and we'll convert you
did
fully.
but I will say I did not. That was not part of my leftovers that I made sure to take. It was decent. I finished the stuffing, but I did not go back for seconds of the stuffing.
You know what? I will accept this.
Eggnog, I feel like it's gross. It's disgusting. What is it about the flavor of eggnog that you like?
That's a good question. It's kind of like, I don't
Like, tell
remember
me-
when was the last time I tried eggnog. Like, it literally felt like it was forever ago. So, I don't know.
For me, it's that it's just a little bit more sweeter, and honestly, I like the heavier texture of it. Like that's really what does it for me, and it's just it's a nice comfort sip. Like you're not chugging it down like a glass of milk. Like you're pouring yourself a glass and you're actually enjoying it for.
Who's drinking glasses of milk these days?
People with strong bones,
Never had
David.
any drink milk. Michael Jordan would be disappointed in
Austin.
you with the Got Milk campaign.
Stop it, David. Get some help.
No,
I
you
remember
said,
Got
you said
Milk,
people with
God.
strong bones. If you have strong bones, you don't need to drink milk. You drink milk to get strong bones.
Stronger bones.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, okay.
I mean, the best way to have milk is to dip it with Oreo cookies. Like,
Yes.
Right.
mind
Yes.
you, Oreos is the best cookie out there.
But that's not drinking milk. It's an accessory to the food. You're not
Yes!
putting the glass
drink
back.
it.
No, who's drinking milk? Why is that that's your comparison for eggnog being good?
Dairy.
Oh my
It's
God.
better than milk.
They're both dairy products.
Okay.
But
See,
I'm not going to compare eggnog to water.
eggnog
I don't
on
think
its
you should
own, though.
compare it to anything if it's good.
I can understand eggnog on its own being a little, people being timid towards eggnog on its own. See, you got to be able to pair it with the right things to be able to spice it up a little bit. And literally, I mean that, because you take a glass of eggnog and you put a little bit of cinnamon in there. And if you're in my family, the tradition is you take a little bit of Fireball whiskey and you pour it in and you mix it in there.
So it
Fireball
sounds like
or
it sounds
Di-Serrano
like you're
is a good
covering up the
option as
flavor.
well.
It's like when the first time I ever had grits, and I thought it was the most disgusting thing ever, and then my mom was like, "Well, you got to put butter on it. You got to pour maple syrup on it." I'm like, "Well, if you got to put all those things on there to change the flavor, maybe like you don't like grits." That's how I feel you guys are talking about eggnog.
See,
You put some absinthe in there. You put cover it in cinnamon and.
See, I would say this is just your white taste buds coming in, but the fact that
Oh.
you didn't like grits tells me they're not even white taste buds. It's something else entirely.
I also
But see,
don't
I
like
can
grits.
see David's take on why do you have to add something to it to make it good. That's why I didn't want to say anything about adding spices or liquor of choice to it.
Well, eggnog's already good on its own, but if you enhance it with those things, it's even better. They're enhancements.
There we go.
But that's not what you said at first. You said you got to spice it up. It's about how you pair it. It should.
Yeah, because
it
it's
should
an
stand on
experience.
its own. It
It's
should
an
stand on its
experience.
own. Andrew's been quiet this entire time.
Yeah, I have. Nothing to say.
Andrew remembers how he got flamed during the Thanksgiving debate, so he's just staying out of it.
Yeah.
He's not picking this battle.
I truly have no stance on it.
Okay, Aaron Burr.
Yeah. So Andrew, what's your go-to Christmas food then? If it's not eggnog, we're getting something out of you tonight.
Come back to me later. That's a good question.
I have to say, hot chocolate is the best way to go when it comes to winter.
Can't go wrong with hot chocolate.
Can't have Christmas without Christmas cookies either, though.
Oh yeah, I love Christmas cookies. Sugar cookies with frosted and
you know,
sprinkles.
Holiday cookies.
What is Christmas cookies? What is holiday cookie? Is it
David.
does any cookie go?
So my mom and I, we usually do a holiday cookie baking day, and we do what we call tarantulas in our family. Other people call them haystacks.
Tarantulas?
There's other regional names based on where you're from, but basically they are chow mein noodles, and then you boil down butterscotch or semi-sweet chocolate chips, and you stir the noodle, like the dried chow mein noodles, and let them dry and sit.
Flag on the play. We're talking cookies here, and you're going noodles.
Yeah,
Chow
dried chow
mein
mein
noodles?
noodles.
In cookies?
Dried chow mein noodles, and then stir them into either melted butterscotch or semi-sweet chocolate. Let them dry and sit, cover in sprinkles.
Sir, that is just Buddy the Elf spaghetti.
That's why I said dried noodles, not cooked noodles.
I'm completely speechless. I've never in my life heard of chow mein noodles being used to make any noodles, for the record, for cookies, and you call them tarantulas.
My family calls them tarantulas. Other people in Arizona that have grown up here have called them haystacks. I'm sure there's other names for them from the Midwest.
So every
Never heard of
Christmas
them.
You eat a handful of tarantulas.
Basically, yeah. The only spider I like.
This week on Fear Factor.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, connect me with Johnny Knoxville. I'll get on the show.
Yeah.
See, it's funny. I just got done rolling and making a bunch of dough and stuff for cookies with my mom upstairs. We do these these mint cookies, or like chocolate, like dark chocolate cookies with like an Andes mint pressed into it after they're done baking, so it melts and you spread it around. We do snickerdoodles.
Classic.
We do these like dark chocolate ginger cookies, which are my personal favorite. I love those. You roll those in sugar, some crystallized sugar, and bake them.
Peanut
What
butter
else do
kiss
we do?
cookies are another favorite of mine.
That's a good
Yep,
one.
we're doing
My
those
mom
too.
loves those.
Yep. And then there's one where we do it's like we call them cereal cookies. So like the Special K cereal. We take you take that and you mix it into just like an oatmeal cookie type of batter, and you throw some cranberries in there, dark chocolate, and they're really good when they come out. They're real crunchy and crumbly when they come out.
Cranberries.
Oh, damn it, David.
So, this is what you're making?
Yep. Those are exactly what I'm making.
They look like French fries.
I can see that. Just but they're one of those things that if you've never had them, and I wouldn't say go out of your way to make them. They are good, but try them before you judge them.
So what you're telling me is it sounds like you're going to have to bake a bunch and then mail them out to us for some taste tests on the next episode.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Do you ever pair your tarantulas with eggnog?
I mean, I will have them in addition to eggnog. I don't specifically pair them with the eggnog because the eggnog is delicious on its own.
Okay, you.
What a diplomatic answer.
All right, so we've got hot chocolate, we've got cookies. We may or may not have eggnog. What's the main entree on your table on Christmas? Because turkey is Thanksgiving, but like I feel like there's a lot of different answers you get here.
I'll start with this one. Another family tradition we do. We'll get a nice big eye round from the butcher counter, and cook that up. My grandpa had a recipe that we've used for years and years. Comes out perfectly, very rare, like very delicatessen style, and makes excellent roast beef sandwiches the next day.
Okay.
My family
I don't have an issue with that one.
My family does a Chateaubriand.
I know
You
what
have to
that
explain
is.
that one to me.
I'm a man of culture. I know what that is, and it's delicious.
I mean, it sounds French, so
I think it's some sort of steak. I don't know. I just eat.
You are correct.
That's not something I learn.
Bon Noel. I come from a Hispanic household, so there's multiple different stages to this. So Christmas Eve is what we celebrate more than Christmas Day. And we kind of follow more the Italian, like Iberian tradition, which is 7 types of seafood or 7 fishes for dinner. So we'll try and find, like we'll do places that either do paella, seafood paellas, so you can get some shrimp, calamari, whatever their fish of the day is, octopus, what else? Mussels. That's 5. I don't know what the other 2. We figure it out. We try to get 7 in there at some point. But Christmas Eve is usually what we celebrate the most. That Christmas morning, or literally the whole week, we do tamales. So my family's from Guatemala, so we do Christmas tamales. And then Christmas Day evening, we do usually it's either, some years it'll be pork, some years it'll be like a roast beast type dish. But yeah, it's relatively the same. We try to go through each of the cultures. 'Cause like my mom's side of the family is Hispanic, my dad is American white, so we try to combine the two when we do the Christmas Eve, Christmas Day main meals.
Man, I couldn't tell you the last time I had a good tamale. That's because I growing up in Arizona, like that was probably the food that I had the least of, like the Mexican food area, and then when I got out to Oklahoma and there's slim pickings out there, I was like, man, if I could just crush some tamales right now, and maybe that's what I'll have when I go home. Maybe I'll Austin, you can ship some to me and I'll have some.
You got to find that hole in the wall place, the one that looks like a real greasy spoon, doesn't look like it's an actual restaurant. It's like in the back of someone's truck. Those are the best.
I've always grown up. I think growing up, like we had a different entree like every year. I feel like it changed. So I don't know. It was always a different thing every year, but I think like generally all the sides were the same sides from Thanksgiving though. Like we just kind of brought those back. It's only a month away, so it's just like let's just bring those back into rotation. Added some cookies, the snickerdoodles, lots of different things.
We'll do some variation on the sides. Like there'll still be a potato, but for Christmas it'll be baked potato instead of mashed potatoes. Although this year I'm doing scalloped potatoes.
Scalloped potato, that's a lot of different things you can do with the potato.
Scallops, there's fish number 6.
Well, there's lots of different lots of fish in the sea, if you will, when it comes to different food options at Christmas. But One area where there's not a lot of different fish in the sea is in the coaching ranks. You like how I kind of spun that
Got there
all?
eventually. It works.
I'm wearing comfortable shoes, which is good because I had to walk a long way to get there. But the coaching carousel continues to spin in college football, and of course there was a lot of stress, a lot of concern over ASU if they were going to be able to get a contract done with Kenny Dillingham because the Michigan job came open suddenly and abruptly, and immediately all the reports were saying Kenny Dillingham was one of their top choices. And if you were chronically online the way that I am, it went from being he's definitely leaving to Michigan to no, we got him wrapped up to actually no, he's already signed with Michigan to oh no, actually no, he just signed the contract and he's talking about it. And ASU got their guy. They already had their guy, but they kept him. He re-upped with a contract extension, a meaningful bump in pay, a very meaningful bump in his salary pool to retain a lot of key assistants, to expand some of the staff resources off the field that he has, and keeps him in Tempe for the foreseeable future, notably fending off Michigan, which is a pretty impressive feat all the way around. It was a great job done by ASU's administration. Kenny Dillingham did a great job of negotiating to get all the things he was asking for to help ASU football continue to be what they've been the last 2 years, and just collectively lets us all let out a sigh of relief. What was everybody's stress level before the deal got done? How were people hitting the panic button here?
I was a 3 out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah, very low
Not
stress.
concerned.
Nope. And I said about it on our previous show as the rumors started to swirl about would Kenny leave for Ann Arbor or not, and my take all of last week as everything was going left, right, and center is he already came to Arizona State under institutional crisis following his predecessor, and why would he want to step into a murkier situation at Michigan with a head coach that was dismissed for a much worse situation, plus an athletic department that is in shambles almost. Why would he want to step into that situation? Why would he want to leave the family support structure that he and his wife have in place here in the Valley and uproot and start somewhere completely new? Yes, if Michigan backed up 12 Brinks trucks into his driveway, all that money could buy all the child care and support structure that you could ever need, but it's not the same as when you're firmly entrenched with family basically right down the street. So I was never worried that Kenny was going to leave. All week long, I had the inclination, the inkling that he was using this leverage to get that bigger salary pool for his assistants and, try and leverage some kind of promise or guarantee of greater NIL resources from the university or, other donors that, that needed convincing to step up and bring Arizona State up to the level of of these big boys in the NIL area. Again, you can't really quantify the NIL investment at this point, but I think what he got from the university is exactly what he was looking for and what he was trying to leverage with the Michigan rumors swirling around.
Definitely. Definitely. I mean, I was at the press conference where athletic director Graham Rossini was speaking to the reporters yesterday, like before the Sun Devils women's basketball team took on Colorado, which, not a surprise, they got another win, which we will talk about later. But Rossini talked about sustainability and longevity as a success to building a successful football program, which I'm really happy that that the Sun Devils have agreed to an extension with Kenny Dillingham. And I mean, I have to add in as well, there was rumors by a reporter who is associated with Cowshay on Friday that Kenny Dillingham would be going to Michigan, in which there was misinformation, which Rossini said that he was surprised that he saw some information as misinformation for sure. So I just wanted to add in that as well.
I'm going to
Yeah,
play a little bit
definitely.
of. I'm going to play a little hindsight devil's advocate here for those who kept thinking that Kenny was going to Michigan or why they thought he would be going to Michigan. Even though Michigan's athletic department is certainly imploding on itself, there's going to be an investigation. Heads are going to roll. I think this is going to have a significant ripple effect across not just that university, not just the Big Ten, but probably all of college football. As much as that athletic department is in a very murky situation, uncertain future, going to if Kenny were to have gone to Michigan, the donors and the money that pool would have still been there. Those Go Blue boosters were not going anywhere. They weren't going to abandon the program. You weren't going to see any dip in the amount of money they'd be able to offer NIL-wise, which would stabilize a little bit of the recruiting pool. The only reason I feel like they would probably lose recruits or anybody who's already there is just because of the fact that you're now associated with a program that has gone through 2 gigantic scandals in the span of 5 years. But that being said, I mean, Kenny staying here, ASU still needs that level of donors. They still need, like he said in his comments to the press just a day or two ago, that somebody needs to step up and write that big check. Where, I mean, just to throw that out there, it's sad that we've gotten to this point in college football that we're talking about something like that. But he's not wrong. The state of the sport is if you're going to compete with anybody who's in the college football playoff right now, if you're going to be there consistently, you need that type of money. You need that type of commitment from boosters, from donors, in order to get those big recruits, in order to have the facilities necessary to develop players, and just the fact that ASU has the environment. Literally has the environment to attract high quality talent. Like, what, you can't tell me there are no players out there who would see Tempe, would see Phoenix and see the facilities ASU has, the stadium, and think this is not a place you would want to play. You would want to spend 4 years academically or just in a college environment. The problem is it's missing the money and it's missing the prestige. When the money flows, the prestige will follow, because you're going to have the type of recruits and the type of players that will want to go and play there, want to go and sign those agreements. And then the talent level is going to elevate the program to the level of prestige that will automatically draw in more of those recruits, like an Ohio State, like a Georgia, like an Alabama will, where it's just self-sustaining from there on forward. So I think Kenny, I mean, obviously we're biased, but he made the right decision, I think, when it comes to college football as a sport. Instead of being the type of guy who's going to jump from program to program to elevate his profile, just go to the blue bloods that are looking to poach a lot of these high quality up and coming coaches that'll bring over some of their recruits that are Jaden Daniels-esque, where they're not getting the type of playing time and exposure that they need in whatever program they're in. And as soon as you insert them into a blue blood program, you insert them into the SEC, they thrive and they become Heisman caliber players. So Kenny overall for the sport made the right decision, so that ASU and other schools now have a precedent to point to when trying to even the playing field in this NIL, in this CFP era, in the big donor era. Overall, this was exactly what the sport needed. This is exactly what ASU needed, and I'm glad that Michael Crow, Graham Rossini respected that and rewarded the loyalty exactly how they should have.
I want to extend an opinion regarding, at least the culture of, athletic market, so to speak, for the entire state of Arizona.
That's such a polite way to start off, too. I would like to extend an opinion.
Yes, Phoenix is, one of the, I think top 10 most populous city in the country, one of the largest, one of the larger media markets in the country. But when you think in the scope of athletics, or just of sports, and I'm talking about professional sports as well, Arizona is a medium market at the most generous. The Diamondbacks are consistently in the lower third of payrolls in Major League Baseball. Some of that is a byproduct of ownership and deals that they do or do not make. The Suns are largely, they can almost get to that final step, but trip at the finish line. And the Suns are kind of good for a one really good year every 8 to 10 years, and then it's middling to rebuilding in between. The Cardinals exist. That's about the best thing I can say about them. But it
Sounds like
extends,
a threat almost.
it extends to college athletics, in my opinion, as well. Arizona State and, for what it's worth, our neighbors to the south, I think, are still generally, they're, both universities are trying to punch through that next tier, and there's just a very limited interest level in the state as a whole. So you see it in the like I said, you see it in the professional ranks, and it extends down to college as well. It doesn't necessarily matter whether it's people associated with each university or just local businesses wanting to invest. There's just a very low level of interest from the community at large.
I think a large part of that too has to deal with the population in the state to an extent. And my perspective as a native Arizonan who, when I grew up, I was like, hey, I've always lived here. I didn't know that was like a rare thing. And then I started thinking, somebody pointed it out, and I realized, like, I don't know many people that were born and raised in Arizona. And it's just kind of that state, if you grew up in the Midwest, if you grew up on the Northeast, like, you come to Arizona to get away from that cold weather. And that's a large part of the population. And most of those people grew up rooting for Nebraska or Penn State or whatever one of the good ACC teams is besides Miami. Duke, I guess. I don't know.
Clemson.
And so then they still root for those teams, and then their kids grow up rooting for those teams. And so there's not really a whole lot of like generational fandom for ASU or for any of these pro teams, because a lot of them are, in the grand scheme of things, newer to the area. And so, one thing that I've gone back to a few times is, ironically, I'm going to a Big Ten school, Minnesota, and PJ Fleck, one of the things that he spoke about when he first got there was how he was like, I see all these people that, born and raised here in Minnesota, and they're cheering for Michigan, they're cheering for Ohio State. And what he started doing early on in his tenure in Minnesota was they would do like kids and family night or something, and like during the off season they would bring people onto the football field. They got to meet the players and things like that, and they would give out as much free swag as they could, just like basically throwing it at people like Oprah, like you get a t-shirt, you get a t-shirt, and it was like, it's not going to work for everybody, but eventually these kids just grow up with Minnesota swag, and by osmosis almost, they start rooting for Minnesota. Now, obviously, Minnesota doesn't have the fan base that any other Big Ten school does, but the idea of it being like kind of investing in the future generations that can grow up Sun Devil fans. But then also the other piece that has to go with it is you have to actually have success. PJ Fleck has been relatively successful at Minnesota, so we'll see how things kind of manifest down the road there. But ASU has too much inconsistency. You can go down the road the last 5 or 6 regimes, and you've got coaches that have some success, and then they don't, and then they get fired. And so for Kenny Dillingham, we're only 3 years in. He's at the stage right now where Todd Graham was not too long ago, where it was like he had some successful seasons, but can he sustain it? And now we're at the point where Kenny Dillingham has had that success, and it has been so successful that he almost left, or almost in quotation marks. But for the first time in a very long time, ASU came really, really close to losing a coach because he was getting poached by another program, as opposed to he lost momentum and we had to fire him. And so when I think about going forward and building that fandom, if you can have that consistency and everything points to Kenny Dillingham should be able to do that, this could be kind of the turning point of like, hey, we know what we have, we're doubling down, we're keeping it, we're committing to it, and that's not something that this fan base is even slightly used to. And I think that could be like the turning point for this program.
100%. I agree with you on that, David. And adding into what Dillingham, how he has transformed a program from when they were dealing with some scandals in which they had to forfeit some of their wins from the 2021 to 23 season to now being one of the participants in the college football playoffs earlier this year, even though they were so close to winning over Texas. But I mean, what Kenny Dillingham has done to transform his program into where they are today, it's pretty huge. But the big question is, as you said, can he sustain that success? For sure, we will have to find out. And I mean, Graham Rossini, he is such an amazing athletics director. Give him all the flowers what he has done throughout the past few years as an athletic director. He brought in Dillingham, and then he also brought in Molly Miller and JJ Van Neal. And look at the women's basketball and volleyball programs right now. Women's basketball, they're having one of their best seasons yet, which they are still undefeated with 14-0. And women's volleyball, they were so close to clinching a spot to an Elite Eight, but they fell to Creighton, who has more experience in the NCAA tournament. So this is just the beginning for the Sun Devil Athletics, and I'm excited to see what more they have in store for the next few years, for sure.
Yeah, and with Rossini too, I mean, for how much we talk about Kenny Dillingham of like, he's one of us, he's a Sun Devil, you know? I mean, Graham Rossini's in the same boat. And I think, you know, it's not always the case that like you go out and you hire an alum and they're just always going to be loyal to you. Cough, cough, Oregon State. But somebody like Graham Rossini, and you hear him talk and you hear the way that he talks about just sports in general. Like I remember when he first got hired, or when he was first promoted to the AD spot, and they were asking him questions about, you know, renovating Desert Financial Arena. And he was saying, he's like, guys, I'm 6'5". Like when I sit in those seats, it hurts my knees. Like I get it. Like he's somebody who's out there and active and among the fan base. Like he knows what the fan base wants because he's one of them. Just like when Kenny Dillingham was crowd surfing, and he's like, I was one of these guys not too long ago. It's like these guys understand what it is to be a Sun Devil, what it means to have that kind of success. And so, Tom, I was just like you. I had zero concern. I was actually a 1 out of 10. If we can go down to 0, I was a 0 out of 10 in my concern, because I knew, one, Kenny Dillingham, as long as he feels that there is support in Tempe, that he has the administration support, even if it's not where he'd like it to be, because what he would like it to be is Texas Tech, and they can't be at the Texas Tech level just yet. As long as he feels that there's support, he's going to stay because he's committed to Arizona State. And I also knew that Graham Rossini is the kind of guy that he is going to be committed to having that kind of support. Like he's going to do what he can to have that support. And for as much criticism as there is out there about Michael Crow, the university president, I think he gets a bad rap. I think a lot of people they see how much he focuses on education and think that means that he doesn't care about athletics. And I think that's a misunderstanding of him. I mean, he's the university president. Like fundamentally, his number one job is to focus on the education, and without question, he has done a phenomenal job in that regard. The value of an Arizona State diploma has gone up considerably from when he first took over, but he also does care deeply about athletics. He wants ASU to be great at athletics. but his background isn't in sports administration. So that's why he brings in somebody like Graham Rossini and he says, hey, like, do what you got to do to make these things great. And he's got somebody in Graham Rossini who knows what to do, who's going to get it done. And I think that's an important component to have, because you could also have the kind of the setup that a lot of SEC schools have, where the president or chancellor is heavily involved, and sometimes even the state governor is heavily involved. And that can be a detriment, because you're very much at the whims of somebody who doesn't actually work in sports administration, who's just kind of like, oh, I woke up this morning and I didn't like the coach, and so I just fired him. Or in Alabama, they're talking about how, Alabama fans are talking about how they would be happy to lose Kalen DeBoer to Michigan because he's not as good as Nick Saban. And then they go and pull off an incredible comeback win in the playoffs. So I think it's a good thing that Michael Crow is the way that he is, because it empowers somebody like Graham Rossini to do what he does, which in turn empowers Kenny Dillingham to do what he does. So as unpopular as it might be to say, thank you, President Michael Crow.
Well, and for anybody who says that Michael Crow doesn't focus on athletics enough, it bears reminding that these are student athletes. Emphasis on students.
Also, we're a hockey school in the desert. Like, if he's not focusing on athletic programs, like, come on, we turned a desert school into a hockey school. Like, come on.
Yeah, I agree with what David said. I think Michael Crow gets too much hate. And I also agree that I was at a 1-2. I just didn't think Kenny Dillingham was leaving after he really didn't entertain the idea of going to Penn State or LSU. Because if he did, at that point, I would have been more worried, but he didn't. So I don't think the Michigan job, only because they're trying to force it, isn't going to make it happen from certain media outlets who shall not be named. Looking at certain people, Josh Pate, one.
LOL.
So,
You got something in your throat there, Andrew?
yeah, he was never leaving. I didn't believe any of it. Just people take bits and pieces of things that they want to hear and say, oh, yep, he's leaving, when the full story's right in front of them, and they clearly missed it. So simple as that.
Well, and the other thing too is, the negotiations were ongoing, and the negotiations were happening in the media, and that happens pretty often in a lot of different areas. I think it felt so foreign to us because, again, ASU's not really been in this situation. Realistically, the last time it happened was John Cooper, when Ohio State poached him and Twitter didn't exist back then. And Kalshi and Polymarket also did not exist, thank God. But to me, it was like, and again, as a Dallas Cowboys fan, where every single negotiation on anything happens through the media, even when it's negotiating, getting a curtain to go over the window so that the sun doesn't shine in the face of the players, all of that has to happen through the media. And so, like, I'm very numb to that at this point. But that's what a lot of it felt like, especially like with Josh Pate, for example. He is somebody who, as he said many times throughout this process, I'm close with Kenny Dillingham. I know Kenny Dillingham. Kenny talks to me. Like, there's things that get put out there to help apply pressure to the ASU side as they're going through these negotiations, and that's just part of the game. And when it's Lane Kiffin during the season on the road to the college football playoff, it can get very frustrating. In this situation, I think Kenny Dillingham handled it very well. I think his agent did a masterful job of kind of, being the puppet master, making everything, applying pressure. And I think Graham Rossini made a really great point. I don't remember if it was in the press conference that he held or in a follow-up interview afterwards, but somebody asked him about like how many emails he got from people, and he was saying like, yeah, I got thousands of emails, and saying like, hey, you need to give Kenny Dillingham what he wants. And he said, it's great because now I'm going to save all those emails and I'm going to reach out to all of them to donate to ASU football because we got our guy. Now you got to back him. So which again goes back to like, we got the right guys in place. But I was not stressed at any point throughout the process. I was just sitting back waiting for it to officially happen. Happy that it did. Very, very excited that it did. But now comes the next question of where do they go from here? Because we've got the money for for the coaches. Maybe got the money for the players. That's not something that they actually. I don't think they're allowed to put it in writing, but there will be money, and there will be players. And now it's transfer portal season, and notably, big loss is Sam Levitt. I don't think he's technically announced yet. Has he officially entered the portal?
I don't
Not
think
that
the
I've seen.
portal opens for a little while, but I don't think he's even announced that he's intending to go in.
Right.
At the
Yeah.
end
No,
of
the
it.
portal doesn't open. Nobody's entered the portal.
Yeah, I don't think Sam has officially said, I intend to enter the portal, but the writing's on the wall for
Yeah,
people
he doesn't need
for us
to.
to decipher
Well,
as we will.
Kenny Dillingham quote tweeted one of the On3 things that he was entering the portal and did his usual like anybody that gets in would be getting a great player. And I was like, I mean, when your own head coach is saying something like that, I don't know. It seems kind of official.
I don't think Sam ever intended to put out something like that, especially considering the reception of him not being at the senior awards. What type of reception he got from that. I think he's going to try and quietly just like put his name in the portal, and somebody's going to report Sam Levitt's name is in the transfer portal, and that's how it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And he might put out like a thank you Sun Devils message or whatever, and endure whatever hate messages he gets from that. But I mean, he'll eventually. That's probably the only time we're going to hear from him on the issue.
Do we think the players raid his locker?
No. I don't know if there's anything to rate at this point because I think he's known that he's leaving for some time.
I'd imagine anything that he wanted to bring from his locker is already gone. I mean, it's just whatever's left is for the taking.
Yeah. Which an unfortunate potential end to the Sam Levitt era. But what's everybody's concern level with finding the new quarterback? In Kenny Dillingham we trust? There's a lot of names out there.
Yeah,
Well,
there
will be a lot of names out there once the portal actually opens.
will be plenty of fruit to pick from what I've seen on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Just even names in the Big 12, Sorsby, Hoover, who's a player I really like, and then there's 8 other conferences if you want to count the Pac-12 9.
Rocco Becht is
too.
Raiola,
may or may not
Yep.
be going to Penn State.
Raiola is the one that I've seen.
Perbula's in the portal too.
Yep.
For me, I'm looking at Perbula and I'm thinking if Drinkwitz stays at Missouri, he'll go wherever he wants to. But I'm keeping an eye on Drinkwitz and that Michigan job because I think if there's 2 candidates that I'm looking at, well, 3 really. If there's 3 candidates I'm looking at that Michigan can go after, it's Jed Fish, who's practically begging to be hired by Michigan at this point. There, Eli Drinkwitz, who was hoping DeBoer would take the Michigan job because then he would go put his name in the hat for the Alabama job. Or Jeff Baum at Louisville, who doesn't want to. I mean, he's a Louisville alum. I don't think he wants to leave, but I mean, Michigan is Michigan. I think if Michigan were to give him a phone call and make him an offer, I don't think anybody refuses that.
I personally think, and I don't want to turn this into a Michigan show, but I think Brian Kelly's going to end up at Michigan. It just feels so fitting.
That would be the funniest thing ever.
It would be so perfect. So I want that to happen. But what were we talking? Quarterbacks. Ribula would be a good fit. DJ Lagway. from Florida. He's available.
Joseph.
Colton Joseph,
Harvard's quarterback.
Aiden Childs is available. Another Michigan State quarterback. Would be the second time that Sam Levitt has left a program and Aiden Childs has come in after.
Michigan's backups in the portal.
I saw somebody mentioned Jackson Arnold, the Auburn former OU quarterback, and that one just like feels right to me. Like that feels like a Kenny Dillingham reclamation project, similar to Bo Nix. It's not who I would want, but it feels just like Kenny Dillingham going like, "Hey, I did this with Bo Nix. He had a rough go of it in the SEC, and then had a great time at Oregon." Obviously, Kenny Dillingham knew Bo Nix before he came to Oregon. He had coached him at Auburn at one point. But I mean, Jackson Arnold, former 5-star player, like he's got all the raw tools. It's just a matter of being in the right system, and I could see that being somebody that Kenny goes after. Not saying he should, not saying I want it, but I can see that happening. A lot of options, though. A lot of options.
Yeah, I think
Underwood's
they're gonna
backup
wind
at Michigan's available too.
What's that?
Sorry, Andrew, go ahead. I think I talked over you there.
You go first, Austin.
Oh, I was just saying, I think Underwood's backup at Michigan is also jumping in the portal. He was supposed to be the starter this year, but got beat out by Underwood in camp.
Well, David appears to be looking it up. I think they're going to wind up with someone who's going to be a junior, or actually a senior this year, as a 1-year stopgap to eventually Jake Fetty, which I maybe 2 years is a possibility, but I think they're going to go after someone who's going to be a junior next year, just so that they can have that 1 year guy to just bridge between Levitt and Fetty. That's what I think they're going to do.
Go the Will Howard route with Ohio State, because you had Julian Sayin there last year, and Will Howard beat him out, but Sayin was impressive enough to potentially beat out Howard last year.
Exactly.
We brought this up a couple shows ago as well, but whoever does come in, if we go if they go that junior senior route, could also be an attempt to to bump up the play of both Jake Fetty and Cam Dyer, just to see what each of them brings to the table and how maybe give us multiple options in the offense going forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's definitely going to be some options there. By the way, that Michigan quarterback, Jaden Davis.
Yep, that's it.
I don't have anything else to add besides his name. But the Michigan quarterback battle was not something that I paid close attention to this year. But Jaden Davis was the backup, and it looks like he's in the portal, so he may be available. He may be an option that they look at. I've also seen that Hammond, the Texas Tech quarterback that started a few games, famously lost to ASU. Only team that beat them. No big deal. He might be jumping in the portal, and he could be potentially an option. There's lots of guys out there.
Oh, how the tables would turn.
I mean, it would be. Maybe we don't want him though. If his only experience in Mountain America Stadium is losing, but
if you can't beat him, join him.
Exactly.
Wasn't that the Kevin Durant strategy?
We should go get Harvard's quarterback, bring him into the Harvard of the Southwest.
I like it. I'm on board. I
don't
don't know
the marketing behind it.
I don't know if I don't know his academics, but he probably would need to bump up his grades to get in. But one last thing. What's that?
Needs to pass Mill Avenue 101.
Yeah. To quote Kenny Dillingham, puke and rally. One other thing I was going to touch on football was how Kenny Dillingham talked about, like, we need one of these rich alums to step up and I wanted to just catch everybody off guard and ask the question: who should it be? Who should be the one alum? Let's call some people out here. Who's the one that's got to step up and write that check? Be our Phil Knight. I got a name in mind, but I guarantee nobody else is gonna get that name.
Give me Jimmy Kimmel. I know he didn't graduate, but he's got the cash. He can do it.
He's got the money.
Phil Mickelson. He's got all that live money.
He's been very active on Twitter recently in support of Kenny, in support of football. So I feel like, I mean, like, what's he doing with the money right now?
Paying off his gambling debts. I know he has
Yeah.
some of those. So here's a name who isn't an alumni but has ties to the Valley. How about Bob Parsons of GoDaddy and PXG?
I like
good
that.
one.
He went
Does
to
David-
Google says the University of Baltimore, and last I checked, they don't have a significant football program.
But they could if he starts donating.
Does David
True.
Spade still have a whole lot of that early 2000s comedy money?
He needs another Adam Sandler movie first. Once we get Grown Ups 5, he can do it.
Emperor's New Groove 2.
I'm
Joe
down.
Dirt 3.
All right, so the name I have, I'm going to tell you guys the name, and then I'm going to ask some. I'm going to see if anybody can guess what his claim to fame is. Chris Cohan,
I got
Deloitte
nothing.
guy.
Deloitte guy. No, that's a good guess. No,
Is he
he's-
like the Raf? Is he like Rafi, a lawyer or something? In Phoenix?
I love that. No, he's the former owner of the Golden State Warriors before they got good. He owned them for a stretch in the '90s and the I think the early 2000s is when he sold them, and wasn't exactly beloved by Warriors fans. They were very excited when he sold the team, and to be clear, it's not like the Warriors immediately started winning championships after he sold the team, but it didn't happen while he owned the team. But and he hasn't really emerged a whole lot since then. But I mean, if you got money to buy an NBA team, you probably got some money. He sold the team, and I'm sure he made some money off of it. He went to ASU. He graduated from Arizona State. Says in the 70s, I think. So, he also would have kind of an understanding of what ASU football has been, what it can be, and I think in some way, if he could be like our Phil Knight, I don't think he has Phil Knight money, but if he could like come in and help kind of set the program forward on this new path, like it would kind of help reshape his legacy after the Warriors. And ASU fans would love Chris Cohan. They'd be like, Chris Cohan, like that's our guy. And Warriors fans will just be sitting there mad that somebody's saying nice things about him, which is an added bonus, I think. You get ASU football gets to be successful. You make Warriors fans mad in the process. So, Mr. Cohan, if you're listening, I'm sure you are. Give a little cash, write a check, just a little bit, see what happens. Just $1 million.
Here's a wild card for you as well. Joe Shane, the CEO of U-Haul. The marketing's right there. Make that big donation, and with players that transfer in, we'll U-Haul you in.
That's hilarious.
I was gonna say it sure as heck is not Joe Shane, general manager of the New York Giants.
I saw
I would have
Austin
known that.
physically cringe.
I regret to inform you we will not be getting any of Rafi Law Group's money as Brandon B. Laffy went to U of A.
Well, I'm glad I never used his legal services. Glad for a few reasons. But yes, that's our pitch. Millionaires and billionaires listening. That's our pitch. Just just spare a couple mil and see what happens. It's just some fun money. I'm sure Kenny's good for it.
Is it producer Wes that usually says consider Arizona State?
He's one of the many, yes.
Yeah. Yep. Consider Arizona State for your next. Yeah, I don't know if it's tax deductible when you donate to. I feel like it's probably not. Anybody know?
I don't know.
Tax law
Andrew,
was
I know
not
you
part of
don't
my
know.
master's program.
You haven't done taxes.
No, I don't make enough money to pay.
Yeah. Enjoy it while it's there. It's once you start owing taxes, it's all downhill from there.
Donations to Sun Angel are generally tax deductible.
Sun Angel being the Sun Angel Collective.
Sun Angel
Yeah.
Foundation, yes.
Yeah. What?
Sun Angel Foundation.
Yes.
Oh, yes. But if it's is it tax deductible if it's to the I don't know why I'm asking you. You're not a CPA.
I do
You're
finance, but I'm
Googling
not that into it.
Well, either way, whether it's deductible or not, Phil Mickelson can spare a little bit of money, and now that they've retained their incredible coach, and speaking of incredible coaches, pivoting to Molly Miller and the women's basketball program, like Aya alluded to earlier, 14-0. 14-0, it's the best start in program history. They clinched best start in program history a while ago now, and they just keep winning. They survived a couple of scares in their non-conference schedule, beating Oregon State on the road, beating Gonzaga on the road. Started Big 12 play on Sunday against Colorado, and Colorado's been pretty decent in their basketball program
Yeah,
this
they
year and the
are.
last couple of years. So getting a win over them, they won handily in that one. Like, this is a really, really good team.
So I mean, adding on to the win, the Sun Devils has had very impressive, really good consistencies throughout the season, from the bench to the starters, in which you can see different players step up each game. So I mean, how the Sun Devils have different types of weapons, starting with Gabby Elliott and Marley Washenitz. I mean, what a impressive turnaround that they've had. Last year, they had a record of 10-22, and they had Natasha Adair as its head coach. At the end as well, that it was my second season covering the women's basketball as a digital reporter when I was with the State Press, and now, how the tables turned. I mean, it's pretty cool getting the opportunity to report for women's basketball once again here for the Devils in Detail, which it's my third year covering the team, and this is the most consistent team I have ever seen from the top to the bottom, which is, I mean, I am really excited to see what more they have, and especially how they can continue their conference play.
Yeah, no, I mean, they're just fun to watch too. Like Aya said, a different person steps up every game, and I mean, I think Gabby Elliott has probably been their most consistent scorer, but Marley Washenitz, I mean, every single game I look at her stat line, and it's like she almost will get like a quintuple double every game because she gets the points, the rebounds, the assists, she gets steals. Every now and then she'll block some shots. Like, it's just you look at, she does a little bit of everything, and during I think it was during the Gonzaga game, I was watching that, and I tweeted that Marley Washenitz is what would happen if Cam Scadaboo played basketball.
Literally.
I'm like, it's that's the best way to explain her game, and it's just so fun. It's fun watching her play. It's fun watching the entire team play. They have so much grit. Their defense is so good, and the way that they all play together as a team, the job that Molly Miller's done, like, majority of this team is brand new. She almost primarily built the team through the transfer portal, and they've come together so quickly with the team chemistry, playing within the offense and the defense that Miller runs, And it's just, you don't expect that kind of chemistry so quickly. And even Kenny Dillingham, when he first came onto the scene, he built the team primarily through the portal because he had to. And there were some good players, but they didn't necessarily have that team chemistry. And obviously there were other things going on in 2023, but it took a little bit for them to start really playing as a team. And with this basketball team, it's just, I mean, almost from the very beginning, like they've just been in sync, and they play such a fun brand of basketball. And for anybody who hasn't had a chance to check out their games, they're always on ESPN Plus, if nothing else. You can always pop on over to devilsindetail.com. You can read an article that says how to watch it, and it'll tell you exactly where. May or may not be written by yours truly. So there's truly no excuse to miss these games.
For sure. I mean, getting to report at these women's basketball games, especially for the third consecutive year, it's such a gift that I have inside me. I mean, coming from growing up in Phoenix, watching WNBA games, and I wish there was more coverage, but getting to see more attention that they have, especially with Molly Miller's arrival as head coach, I'm just really proud to be a part of this season. It's just so special to see this team grow every single day. And I mean, what really stands out to me as well is McKenna Brackens. She leads the team in rebounds. She also has like tons of double-doubles. Mind you, I have lost track of how many she has. She's just so freaking impressive on both ends of the court.
Yeah, and to hammer home how good this team is, the last coach, Natasha Adair, not to completely dump on her, because she didn't entirely inherit like a stacked cast when she took over the job, but her first year they won 8 games. Her second year they won 11 games. Her last year was 10 wins. They're 14-0. They've already won more than any of the last 3 years combined. Now, we've just started Big 12 play, so the Big 12 has some heavy hitters this year. They have, I think, 4 teams, including ASU, that are undefeated at this point, unless there's a game that has changed that while we're recording. So I'm really curious to see how this rest of the season goes now that they're in Big 12 play. But they've come into this with a whole lot of momentum, and really eerily feels like ASU last year in football with, they had the momentum, they get to Big 12 play, they could shock the world, and
I could see it. I could see Sun Devils shocking the world. I mean, maybe it's a bias. I'm just like keeping this right here, but I mean, like I apologize for my confusion just a few minutes ago, but I meant to say what a full circle moment of getting to cover the Arizona State women's basketball team, and I'm so excited to continue the journey with all of you guys. And I mean, it's just impressive to see this turnaround from women's basketball. I mean, the last time they made it to the NCAA tournament, I was a sophomore in high school. It was one of the last years when Charlie Turner would coach before retiring in 2022. And look what a women's basketball team is right now because of Molly Miller. It's definitely the Molly Miller effect.
Mm-hmm. I've got to say, seeing this team from afar and just seeing highlights and recaps on social media, this team is night and day more exciting. It's just it's a whole brand new culture, brand new vibe, whatever you want to call it. But we said it in the segment before talking about Kenny Dillingham, but Gramercini really knocked it out with bringing in Molly Miller. She's been an extreme breath of fresh air to the women's basketball program.
As Doug Tamaro put it on Twitter, or I guess X now, Molly, her name should be Moy Meyer.
Oh, that's a great one.
So,
yeah, always great content from Doug Tamaro. He never lets it down.
He's a legend.
And we were talking before too about like Dillingham, Rossini, both like they get it because they're alums. They went to ASU. They understand it. And then you look at Molly Miller, and she comes in and like I've heard so many different people describe her as like the female Kenny Dillingham. Like there's so many similarities there, and even on an ASU level, like she gets it.
Yes.
She's not even an alum, but she's already embedded herself so much within the fan base. She gets this school, she gets this program, and I think again you don't have to hire an alum just in order to have a special connection to the program that they're coaching. I mean, look at Kyle Whittingham at Utah. He went to BYU, like literally their rival, and he lived and breathed Utah until he stepped away, and has made it very clear he's not retiring. He's kind of sort of pitching himself maybe to coach somewhere else. I don't know, but Molly Miller looks to be another one of those home run hires. Even though there wasn't necessarily the personal connection to ASU, she gets it, and has brought a level of excitement to women's basketball that, frankly, there's not a whole lot of excitement for the men's basketball so far. But I kind of feel like there should be, because they're doing better than I expected. I don't know how many of us have paid attention to men's basketball so far this season, which would, again, highlight my point of maybe they should be getting a little bit more attention.
I made a point to watch the game against UCLA last week, and I think that game was an expected loss. I went into it with minimal expectations. I would have been extremely surprised had the men come away with a win, but to see then following up with a really not great loss to Oregon State, leading into conference play, starting up after the new year. This team is still. I'm intrigued to see just how much is able to be retained from the same team that had only lost to Gonzaga and USC until last week. See how much of that is able to be retained. Mo Odom is really impressed me night after night whenever I've been, if I've been watching the game or if I'm just catching highlights on Twitter or Instagram. He's really impressed me coming in and just taking control of this team.
Yeah, Odom has been really fun to watch. Anthony Pig Johnson, which, like, we got to come up with a better nickname. I'm sorry, I don't like it, but he's been really great too. He's a kind of a scouting success story coming from the NAIA levels, and putting up legitimate numbers with a Power Four conference team. But again, Tom, like to your point, loss to UCLA, you can forgive that. The loss to Oregon State was a rough one, but their resume up to this point, all in all, it's been impressive. I mean, they upset Texas in the Maui Invitational. Then they were able to beat Washington State, got all the way to the championship game, at which point USC was able to beat them. Again, you kind of expect that, especially in that, they played 3 games over 4 days away from home in Hawaii, pretty different time zone there. They were able to beat Oklahoma, who's no slouch, beat Herb Sendek in Santa Clara in the Jack Jones Classic. Like, it's not really there's not necessarily any signs to me that they're going to be in the tournament or they're going to be like Big 12 contenders, but they've got enough playmakers on this team. They've got enough scorers on this team that they can get rowdy. They can surprise some teams. They can make some games fun, especially in the Big 12. Even last year they got a couple of upset wins here and there. I think they can definitely do better than last year, and they can put up a really decent fight in the Big 12 this year.
Yeah, I think that they can improve based on what I've seen in the non-conference, which, like you said, David, wins over 2 SEC schools in Texas and Oklahoma. It's not something to forget about, even though you just lost to Oregon State, which you were leading in that game late by like 7 or 8 points with like 6 minutes left. that's a game you should win at that point, but it's still a overachieving non-conference, which it feels like Bobby Hurley always kind of does that. So, like, not saying, oh, the team's gonna fall off, which that could happen, but we'll see in these next few games. Say if ASU can win a couple of these games to say, okay, this is real, or was it a mirage?
When you look at the Big 12 conference to open up coming out of the new year, 3 out of the first 5 conference games are against top 10 teams in at BYU on January 7th, down in Tucson on the 14th, and then at Houston on the 18th. It's not really an easy stretch to start the conference season.
I mean, that's easy. Not winning those games, but playing in those games.
Oh, yeah, true.
But yeah, no. To your point, though, yeah, it is. We've seen this before with Bobby Hurley. They typically do very well in non-conference. So I'm not getting excited until we see several weeks of Big 12 play. And I'm not particularly getting excited for those weeks of Big 12 play that we'll have to see. But you never know. You never know what could happen. Nobody thought that Molly Miller was going to be 14-0 at this point. Nobody thought Arizona State was going to be a hockey school. But as Austin pointed out earlier, they indeed are, which leads me into our next segment. Once again, another impressive segue into the next topic. Tom,
Clever with words, some might say.
Yeah, when you talk for an hour about things, you got to be good with the words. So Tom, why don't you throw some words at us about the hockey team?
Hockey's been enjoying a nice little break. Hockey was off last weekend after splitting on the road at Minnesota Duluth, getting the win on Saturday night after losing on the Friday night. Back in action this coming weekend in Hanover, New Hampshire, playing the Dartmouth Big Green. This is a Saturday-Sunday series as opposed to the typical Friday-Saturday series that the Sun Devils will usually play. This is technically the Ledyard Bank Classic, but instead of being a 4-school format, this is simply a 2-game series between ASU and Dartmouth under the Ledyard Bank Classic naming. Dartmouth was enjoying an incredible start to their season, winning their first 11 games before going down against in-state rival University of New Hampshire before their holiday break, and so they're going to be looking to get back to their winning ways against the Sun Devils. This will not be the first time that Arizona State and Dartmouth have played each other. Back in the 2023-24 season, Dartmouth came to Mullet Arena, and both teams played to a couple of ties in that weekend series, a 4-4 tie in the Friday night game and a 1-1 tie for the Saturday night game, with Arizona State winning both games in the shootout. But this is a huge series for Arizona State to start to make some moves in the NPI rankings. Dartmouth is ranked number 8 in the USCHO poll, and I believe, I don't have the NPI right in front of me, but very similarly ranked in those NPI rankings. Arizona State is number 35, so needing to really get a lot of wins strung together in a row against these highly ranked teams is going to be key for the Sun Devils coming out of the holiday break.
Yeah, like you said, Tom, Dartmouth really high up there. I think a split is what you need with just these road series in particular against these top teams.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Splits on the road are really what you should be asking for. A sweep on the road is phenomenal, but a split on the road will help move the needle in the right direction. And then got to come back home and get those sweeps. Speaking of when the Sun Devils do come back home, That will be for the Desert Hockey Classic coming up on January 2nd and 3rd from Mullet Arena. Arizona State will play Alaska Anchorage on Friday, January 2nd at 7 p.m., and then we'll play either Air Force or Michigan Tech on January 3rd. Hopefully that game will be the championship game as the Sun Devils go for their 4th consecutive in-season tournament victory. But regardless of whether the Sun Devils are playing for the championship or the consolation, Saturday, January 3rd will be a 7 p.m. puck drop. And for this weekend series, we'll have more information on this on Devils in Detail, but both games will be able to be streamed nationally on ESPN+. So for those who are unable to watch Sun Devil hockey with any regularity, this is a great opportunity for you to see the Sun Devils on your screen without having to go through some unorthodox methods to watch them.
I looked it up to the NPI rankings. Dartmouth is actually number 2, so pretty high up there. The only school that they're behind is Michigan, which makes it even more impressive that Kenny Dillingham didn't go there, considering they're a hockey powerhouse as well. But I think Arizona State's going to, in the long run, will be up higher in the long run. But number 2, that's certainly no joke.
Yeah, it's gonna be a huge opportunity to move up, and when you're looking at these NPI rankings, I did a full breakdown of what the NPI is and what that means for Arizona State last week on Devils in Detail. But if Arizona State is unable to win the NCHC tournament, really to get into the tournament, you got to finish the season at around that number 12, number 13 cut line in the NPI to be safe from any potential bid stealers.
And that's something that they didn't do last year in the pairwise, which was last year's equivalent to the MPI. And they finished just around the 16th position, which with Michigan ahead of them, they were the first team out instead of Arizona State. But you had an Atlantic Hockey America, one of their teams was a bid stealer, and then in Bentley, which was led by Connor Hasley and the net, who is now at Arizona State, and then Cornell, the Big Red, in the ECAC conference. So it can happen in any conference right now. I believe last week's edition of the NPI, it had only one Hockey East team in, which that's always, they're pretty good. They've got so many powerhouse teams. And they only had one in, so I think there's going to be a lot of volatility up and down the NPI over these next few weeks. And eventually, when the NCAA tournament falls, you might see Arizona State in that top 13 or so to be up there. And what would happen is ASU has to win these games that they should win with the Desert Hockey Classic against, though the Alaska Anchorage is not very good, let's be real here, and Michigan Tech and Air Force, who are middle of the road teams to below average, which you should win those 2 games. There's no reason not to. And then further down the line, your conference opponents of these powerhouse teams like Denver, North Dakota, that you have to take as many points as you can if you want to sizably jump up the MPI to get into the tournament.
We're looking at least 4 out of 6 points in any given weekend for the Sun Devils, regardless of home or away. You'd like, if you're on the road, taking even 3-3 isn't a terrible isn't gonna end all hopes, but when you're playing at home, if you're not gonna win both games in regulation, win one game in overtime, one game in regulation, get those 5 out of 6 points. That's the best. That's really the minimum hopes you got to be looking for.
The Sun Devils have been really good in overtime this year. Colin Potter, especially, has found the back of the net few times in overtime. So that is something that the Sun Devils can do, especially if you're down one late in the game, pull the goalie, get extra man goal to tie the game up late, put you into overtime. Where I would say the Sun Devils match up well against any given opponent in overtime for hockey.
I don't have a whole lot else to add on to the matchup, but I do just want to say I feel like of all the Ivy League schools out there, outside of athletics, Dartmouth is always the underrated one out there that gets left out of the Ivy League conversations. I don't know if that's just my weird take on the Ivy League schools. I feel like you never hear about Dartmouth that much.
Well, I do want to throw it back to the last series against Minnesota Duluth, and one of the points that Coach Powers has really been trying to drive home is getting more scoring outside of the top line. Almost all the scoring did come from the top line in the 6-3 win, but what was really standing out to me was 5 goals and 5 assists for 10 points, and then a plus-minus rating of plus 14. That's, for a single game, for one line to have a plus 14 rating is just incredible. You don't see that all the time from any one line. So it's, these guys are producing, but that's, got to see more consistent production from the rest of the three lower lines.
So Tom, I kind of throw it back to you. I asked the question: do you keep the three together, or do you break them up to try to get more scoring throughout the lines and bring up a Jack Beck or a Sean McGurn or someone else to try to get that?
I think for the time being, you need to keep them together because Friday's game at Duluth, Captain Kyle Smolin went down with a head injury and was evaluated for concussion protocol. Did not play in Saturday's win, and with unknown how long he's going to be off the ice, I think you've got to keep that core line at the top until he's ready to jump back into the lineup, and then you can start to space these guys out.
Yeah, and also you had Jack Beck, another forward who's been good so far this season. I think he missed both games in the Duluth series. So I think his availability puts a lot into that as well.
And plus, there was one loss from the roster. Justin Cloutier left the program to return to the Ontario Hockey League, returning back to the Sioux Greyhounds, where he played before coming down to Tempe. He only appeared in the first 2 games of this season and was listed on the injury report with an illness for the rest of the first half, and we will no longer be seeing him listed on the lineup for the rest of the year.
Well, I struck out with my Dartmouth riff, so I don't have anything else to add there. Tom immediately just sidestepped past it, but I'll save my Ivy League stand-up comedy routine for later. But it will be a really a proving ground for the Sun Devils this week going against Dartmouth, and like Tom said, it'll be on ESPN Plus. It's a great opportunity for those of us who may not be able to watch them all the time. Of course, check back at devilsindetail.com so that you can find out how to watch that, where to watch it. If you don't catch it, or if you just want to read about it after, there's another site that you may be able to go to. I bet you can guess what that site is. Of course, you can find coverage on all things ASU athletics over there at Devils in Detail from all of us here. And maybe not necessarily on Christmas Day, maybe, but we're all looking forward to celebrating in the different ways that we will celebrate, having some delicious Christmas food. Some of us also will consume eggnog, although we shouldn't. But for everybody here at Echo from the Buttes, for Andrew Hazlett, Austin Bundy, Aya Abdeen, Tom Harden, myself, David Howman, wishing a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, Happy Holidays to everybody. on behalf of Echo from the Buttes, to our ASU Sun Devil family, and as always, give them Hell Devils.